Good afternoon. This is Neil. I'm going to do the end of week wrap up this week. So first, maybe a couple of house cleaning items. Earnings season kicked off today. We got J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Citi, Wells Fargo, PNC, U.S. Bancorp, a number of others, United Health, and much more. So that's a lot of the financials to kind of kick things off. And then early next week, we're going to get Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and Schwab, and that should pretty well wrap up the kind of the first leg of it as far as the financials to kick off this Q4 earnings. And also then next week, it's going to take us into the options expiration. So we'll have an OPEX end of next week on the 21st, and that should be interesting as well. So this week was really something, obviously. Oh, another house cleaning thing. The other day we had a pivot for the CPI report of like 36.25. A bearish target of 35.20 and a bullish target of the 36.80s and possibly 36.94. Both of them. Okay, so first of all, what that means is and my lean, right? I said I would really like to see this thing trade 36 quarter down to 35.20. In no way, shape, fashion, or form did I ever imagine that it would also trade from there all the way up to the bullish targets. That's one of the craziest things I have seen in at least the last 10 years. I mean, it was absolutely insane trade yesterday on Thursday. Just completely nuts. So it's true that it did happen to hit both the bearish and the bullish targets, but that's really not part of the plan. The plan was, look, if it goes higher, then it would be going to the 36.80s, 90s. If it goes lower, then it would be going down to the 3,500, and that's really where I was really focused. So the only way that I can imagine that a plan like that could help you when it reversed is that at least you would have some idea of, well, if it's really going up. I mean, they hit the bearish target, so now it seems to be going the other way. So if it's really going significantly the other way, then maybe we would have a reason to try to target. At least we have targets up there, the 36.80s and 90s. I mean, the fact that it went there is just a complete happenstance of absolute crazy trade. I don't know. Somebody asked me to describe the trade, and I said it was as crazy as a bag of squirrels. It's just nuts. So to catch us up, what has happened over the last couple of weeks, so that we're seeing the forest here and not just focused on a tree, is that 2 weeks ago we had balance for that middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We had balance up at about 3,800. If you remember, the number was 3,794, so basically 3,800. Then last week, I could probably show you that here. Last week, that shifted down to right there at 36.54. That was balance last week. That was also the balance from the 3 weeks ago. It's strangely, but it was. The week before the 3,800 balance, this was the balance then, also 3 weeks ago, 36.54. Then this week, it shifted. So keep in mind, it's gone 3,800 by 36.50. Now this week, it left out the week right here, most traded price on the week, 3,600. So it's gone 38, 36.50, 3,600. Okay. Now here, this is not easy. Here's where it gets really not easy, difficult. Okay. So it took 6 days to break 300 points from 38 down to 3,500. It took 1 day to rally 35 back to 37, which is 200 points. So 6 days to break 300. 1 day to bid 200, and then today to break back 100 to sit on what was balance and ended up being balance. So it reverted back to balance is all it did. So it got a crazy bid Thursday, and then today it came back to balance. All right. Now, this is where I say it gets tough. unfortunately, I don't like this because this does not work for my positions, okay, but it's what it looks like, is that this Thursday trade was an initial leg of then a today retrace back to, as you can see, it was an approximate 618 retrace of yesterday's uptick. It was back to balance, and it was at value area low for the week. That's enough to, in my opinion, probably hold for support for the early part of next week, for the first couple of days of next week. I got to think. Look, I'm not happy about this, but my read on this is that this is going to hold support, and it's going to start trading back up towards that high. If it does, it will certainly be to extend that high. Very likely, if it does, to start really trading back up, towards this high, it would be to trade like 37.50. At which point, then though, finally, I'm gonna look for it again to really sit back down again, hard. And that's the way that's the way I'm gonna look at it. So I've got positions on that are not gonna do so well with what it looks like it's actually gonna happen here, and that is that this initial leg up on Thursday retraced today to back to balance. And this is honestly the ideal spot for this to hold. If it's going to hold, this is the ideal spot for it to hold right back to balance and then bounce off balance. Let's say that it doesn't play out like that I'm wrong, that it doesn't bounce. And I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, because I'll do a lot better with my trades that are on right now if this goes the other way. A little bounce off of this that gets trapped right in here in the middle of this. It'd probably get trapped like 36, quarter-ish, something on a small bounce, and rolls back hard for okay, that would be nice. Then we're looking for a failed support of 618. This is like the last stand for the retrace, right? I mean, it's back to balance, value area low, and point. That would be bearish. That would be a failed bounce, failed support, and then it's headed back below this 3,500 low. Then we start talking about targets down there. My target's going to be 3,400. You go back and look at the February highs of the pre-COVID, Black Swan break. They were 3,400, broke hard down to like 22, and then bid from there to that 3,400 is going to be my target. That would be the bearish way that this could play out. It does not look like that, unfortunately, but I would be open to that and very happy for it to, for me to be wrong and for it to go lower from here. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, look, this bid back 200 points on Thursday was a couple of things. One of the craziest things I've seen in a long time, and two, not what I was looking for. Much greater of a bid than I was in any mood to hope to see. And it, unfortunately, it kind of changes things about my read here, and that's the bottom line. It really kind of is. That's a big move, and it changes some things for me. So, and what it changes is, I think it means that it's going to take longer to get to my bearish objectives. So, when I'm with you again next week and we get to see how this thing starts out, if it looks like it's indeed going to delay my bearish objectives coming in, I'll have a new will roll the idea of the bearish objectives out in time, and it'll be a new trade idea for same objectives, but a later date. Okay, so that's where I'm at. Good trade. Hope you all have a great weekend. It was crazy week, obviously, to say the least. And we'll be right back at it again next week. I really hope that that the analysis this last week helped. Certainly, when we were looking for it to be at pivot and then trade to an objective, it accomplished that first part of the plan. But then, interestingly, it took on a whole new personality in rallying Thursday to levels that, again, I would have only had in mind had it chosen to be bullish, not having first been bearish and then rallied all the way to bullish objectives. I see that it did that, but trust me, that was not really part of the plan. It just played out that way. So my hope is that at least maybe in having the levels that it helped some of you have targets. Good trade. Nice weekend. We'll do it again next week. Till then.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me